Welcome back, students. In the fourth unit, that is project scheduling. Into this fourth unit, in last lecture, we have seen different terms regarding resource consideration in projects. Means what are the different resources that we are taking in the project for the purpose of different activities, for the doing different step on the different levels on the project. After that, we have seen the resource allocation. This resource allocation is nothing but it is one of the critical part of the project management. If you have different tasks regarding to the project, different programs that you have to accomplish, then you have to have some of the skilled people or the skilled professionals, they who will be able to make it proper management in the particular project. For that purpose, for the purpose of allocating different resources to the different peoples, and for allocating different roles to different peoples, the professionals they are needed for here, that is called as the resource allocation. And in this case, resources that can be different people, different equipments, places, money, or anything else that you need for the purpose of performing different activities that you have been done or you have been planned in your particular plan of the total project. Now, let us discuss the next point, that is scheduling of a project. At the starting of this particular chapter, we have seen in brief what is actually meaning of the scheduling of the project, how we are going to schedule a project, how we are going to find out the or we are going to make the plan of that project, particular project, and make different time slot for different activities in that project. That everything we have seen in this first lecture of this fourth unit. Today we will see what is scheduling in detail. Here, the scheduling in a project management, that is a listing of activities, deliverables, and milestones within a project. A schedule that also usually includes a planned start and finish date, duration, and resources they are assigned to each and every activity. Effective project scheduling is a critical component of successful time management. For the purpose of managing the time, for the purpose of completing the particular project in the given time, an effective project scheduling is to be done. After that, you will be able to complete each and every task within a given time, so that whatever the total span needed for each and activity, that will be completed within the same activity, and you will be having a successful project which will be completed within the given time period. When the people they will discuss the process for building a schedule, they are usually referring to the some of the processes of the time management, that can be planning, schedule management, defining the project activities, sequencing the activities, estimating the resources, estimating the durations, developing the project schedule. All these things you have to consider as per the you have to consider in regarding to the time management while making the scheduling of a project. Now let us discuss one more point regarding to the scheduling. Now we have seen what is actually the meaning of scheduling and why it is necessary. It is necessary for the purpose of managing the time of the particular project and completing the project in within given time. Now let us see how to do the scheduling in that particular project management by considering the particular project. There are some of the main types of scheduling. First type, you can call it as a master project schedule. In that, a master schedule that tends to be simplified list of tasks within a timeline or the project calendar also. The second thing, or the second a type of scheduling, that is milestone schedule or summary schedule. Here you have to schedule tracks major milestones and key deliverables, but not every task required to be complete the project. Okay, next is a detailed project schedule. In this, the most true it is most important type of, means it is mostly used type of project, where this is the most thorough project schedule, as it is defining and tracks the every project activity. If you have a complex or large or a lengthy project, it's very important to have a detailed project schedule to help the track everything. Okay, the most common form of project schedule is a Gantt chart. We have seen what is actually the Gantt chart. Both a milestone schedule and a detailed project schedule that can be created as a Gantt chart. When choosing a scheduling software, Look for the tools that allow you to create a different views from the same schedule. If you can create a detailed schedule with the milestone as a Gantt chart, you have to make sure that it can be summarized up to that level for a simple view that it can be easily shared with you and your team or the stakeholders also. This thing gives you the ability to prevent and present the same schedule in different formats depending upon the levels of details they are required in the target audience. This is how we are using the different types for the purpose of making a scheduling a proper project management. First was a master project schedule, where we tend to find a simplified list of the different timelines and different calendars of a project. In milestone schedule and summary schedule, in that we were tracking some of the major milestone and key deliverables. We are not going to consider means each and every task that is not been considered here. And in a detailed project schedule, we are using which this detailed project scheduling that was identifying the different tasks of the every project activity. Let us see what are the different benefits of the project scheduling in a particular project management. The project scheduling benefits, first we can call it as assist with tracking, reporting and communicating the progress. Means by scheduling a project we can have a proper reporting and of the project, and we will be able to it will be communicating with us. Means whatever the scheduling report, by that report will be able to understand each and everything regarding the project. Means the project is being communicating with us for the purpose of scheduling of a project. Next benefit, that is ensures that everyone is on the same page with task dependencies and deadlines. Everything that will be understood by this scheduling highlights issue and concerns such as a lack of resources. This is also one of the benefit of the project scheduling. It identifies the task relationship and it monitors the progress and identify the issues early. That is what the importance of a not important, that is what the benefits of a project scheduling. For the purpose of creating proper project schedule, we have to consider some of the tips. Means we have to take in mind some of the tips for that purpose, so that we will be able to find a proper or a solid, we can call it as a solid project schedule. So, the first thing that you have to keep in your mind, that is get input from the stakeholders. You don't create your schedule in isolation. Okay, it's important to use your team and other stakeholders also to identify the different tasks, different resources, different dependencies and different durations that are needed for the that particular project to be completed. So that you have to take the different inputs, means such as the idea regarding the project, idea regarding the different resources, idea regarding the time duration that is needed for each and every activity. Such inputs you can take from the your stakeholders and the people they are working with you, so that you will be able to have a proper view of each and every person regarding the project, and you will be able to form a solid project scheduling. Next, that you have to have the reference past project. Whenever you are going to form a schedule, you have to take the reference of the past project, so that you will understand what is actually how the actually schedule is done for the past project they are related to this, and means how much time is needed for a particular task that that idea you will get from here. Looking at a previous project with similar scope and different requirement, you can help to create the realistic estimates and ensures that you haven't forgotten any of the task. Okay, by taking reference, where if you have been forgotten any task, by making the reference, taking the reference of any past project, you will find that this task is missing. You will be immediately adding the task in your schedule. This is how it will be beneficial for the purpose of adding into your project. Next thing, you have to keep different risk in your mind. Okay, you have to identify and document any factors that pose a risk for the staying on schedule. It will help you for the risk management efforts also. Next thing, you have to keep in your mind that considering any non-work time. For example, you have to make sure the vacations and holidays they are reflected in your schedule, so that you are not assuming people that will be working when they are not working. Next thing you have to consider is define the critical path on your project. Here, identifying your project critical path, it will allow you to prioritize and allocate the different resources to the most important task in the project. This is how you have to define the critical path on your project, and you will be able to find the most important task in your project. Next thing you have to keep in your mind is record scheduling assumptions. While making the scheduling of a project, you have to make the different assumptions. You have to write down the logic behind your scheduling predictions. For example, if you are assuming that it will only take 10 hours to complete a particular task because you have a senior engineer there, then if you end up with a junior engineer, you can understand and explain why it took twice as long as planned. This is what, by the assumption, you will be able to find the things or making the record of different things. Next thing you should consider here while making the scheduling is you have to include the project milestone. Project milestones, they are events or markets that stand for an important point in your particular project. They are useful for creating a summary schedule, reporting to executives, and identifying the problems very early. Here, let us see some of the examples: project kickoff, design approvals, completion of requirements, product implementation, and project closeouts. This is how you have to consider all these things in your mind. You have to keep the things in your mind while preparing a schedule of a project, so that you will be able to have a proper scheduling of a project. Okay, clear about the all things regarding scheduling. Let us see, in short we can say that a scheduling in a your project management, that is a project's timetable, that is actually consist of the sequenced activities and milestones that are needed to be delivered under a given period of time. Project schedule simply means a mechanism that is used to communicate and know about the different tasks they are needed and has to be done, or they have to be performed, and which organizational resources that will be given or allocated to this task, and in what time duration or what time frame that work is needed to be performed. The effective project scheduling that leads to success of a project schedule, it will reduce the cost and increase the customer satisfaction. Scheduling in project management, it means that to list out the different activities, deliverables, and milestones within the project that are delivered here. It contains more notes than the average weekly plan notes. The most common important form of project schedule, that is Gantt chart, as we have seen now. The project schedule process that we can call: first we have to identify the different activities, identify the different dependencies, then estimate the different resources. We have to assign the people to conduct the different activities, create activity network and bar charts also. While considering or while understanding the process of scheduling, we will learn that the process how the process is done for the scheduling, that the manager that needs to estimate the time and resources of a project while scheduling the project. All the activities in project that must be arranged in a coherent sequence, that means that activity should be arranged in a logical and the well organized manner for the purpose of easy understanding of the people. Initial Initially, the initial estimates of a project that can be made optimistically, which means the estimate that can be made when all the favorable things that will happen and no threats or problem that takes place. The total work that is separated or divided into various small activities or different tasks during the project scheduling. Then the project manager will decide the time that is required for each and every activity and or the different task for the purpose of getting it to be completed. Even some of the activities, they are conducted and performed in a parallel for efficient performances. The project manager should be aware of fact that each stage of the project that is not the problem free. Okay, there can be number of problems, there can be number of risks, there can be number of conflicts while performing that activities or task regarding to the each step. The problems arise during the project development stage, that can be people may leave or remain absent during the particular stage of the development. that was not considered initially while making the schedule of the project. That's why all these things you have to consider. Again, there can be the problem that hardware that may get failed while performing different activities, software resources that are required that may not be available at present time. These are the different things that or different problem that can be arised while performing the different activities of the project. The project schedule that is represented as set of chart in which work breakdown structure and dependencies within various activities they are represented. To accomplish and complete the different project within a given schedule, your required resources must be available when they are needed. Therefore, the resource estimation that should be done before starting the development of the project. The resources they are required for the development of the project that we have seen: human effort, sufficient task space or servants, specialized hardware or different kits, you can call it as software technologies, and travel allowance that is required by a project staff. These are the different resources that we have seen needed for the purpose of scheduling of a project. The advantage of the project scheduling, we can call it as it ensures that everyone remains on the same page. It also helps in identifying the relationship and monitor the different processes. This was everything regarding the scheduling of a project. Now let's discuss the next point. The next point is project cost estimation and budget. Let us see what is actually the cost estimation and budgets regarding a project. The project cost management that is defined as the process of planning and controlling the project cost and budgets effectively and efficiently. It defines that what costs are required for each deliverable of the project. It includes various functions of the project management like estimation, job controls, field data collection, scheduling, accounting, designing, etc. The cost of the project that can be estimated from the various process resources, that is by creating the work breakdown structure, developing schedule, planning the human resources, identifying the different risks. This is how we are going to create the project cost estimation and budgeting of a project. While the inputs that are needed for making the cost management, that is project management plan, project charter, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets, while the output of this particular process, that is cost management plan regarding the that particular project. Creating the estimation and costing for project, it is an extremely crucial part of any project management. Various things that are taken in considerations while calculating the budget for the project, like labor cost, necessary equipment acquisitions, material cost, etc. Okay, let us see what is actually the meaning of project cost estimation. The project cost estimation, it is defined as the process of approximating the total expenditure of the project. The accuracy of the cost estimation and budgeting in project management depends on the accuracy and details of the project scope, which is the scope baseline. The scope that will also define any constraint like date, resources, or budgets. The risk register that will help to calculate the estimate types of cost, the expenses made behind the contingent action, and the expenses that made to cope with the risks. To estimate the cost of a project, you have to categorize various cost types into the categories like labor cost, equipment cost, cost of supplies, travel cost, training cost, and overhead cost. Okay, all these things you have to consider while making the cost estimation. Now, let us discuss the different techniques that are used for estimating the project cost. There are some of the techniques used for the purpose of estimating the project cost, like expert judgment, 3 point estimation, reserve analysis, and cost of quality. For the purpose of estimating the project cost, formally there are some of the main methods or techniques, we can call it as, that is analogous estimation, parametric estimation, and bottom up estimation. These are the technical things or the most formally used steps for the purpose of creating the project cost estimation, where the analogous estimation means The technique, it is based on the expert judgment and information based on the similar previous projects, where previously done similar project, that cost is considered with plus or minus of 20% of the existing projects. The parametric estimation, in that past data or record that is used to estimate the cost for a current project, means as we have seen, we can use the past data, past records regarding to the project for the in the scheduling we have seen, we can use the past data regarding the similar project for the purpose of scheduling of a project. By that past data we can make the schedule of the project, means we can find out the proper schedule of the project. Just like that, by using that past data, we can have a proper estimate cost estimation of the current project. The third one method, that is bottom up estimating. Once you have defined the scope of the project, it is the most reliable form of technique. In this technique, it is based on the work breakdown structure. You estimate the cost for each and every resource or deliverables. Likewise, there are more other methods for the purpose, or the techniques for the purpose of estimating the cost, like PERT estimation and vendor bid analysis also. Okay, getting all these three techniques for the purpose of estimating the project. Okay, let's see what is project budget planning. The main purpose of this activity is to allocate and authorize the monetary resources that are required to complete the project. The main output for determining the budget, that includes the cost performance baseline. It is not only specifies that what cost will be incurred, but it will also be considered that when the cost that will be incurred here. The inputs of determining the budget includes the different budgeting methods, that is activity cost estimates, basic for estimates, scope baselines, then project schedule, resource calendars, contracts, organizational process assets. The output of all these processes, that will be cost performance baseline, project funding requirement, and project document updates. The project budgeting, that is performed in parallel with the project scheduling process. It is highly dependent on the three components: cost estimation, task duration, and allocated resources. Okay, during the project budgeting and costing, the project managers, they communicate with different people. They are responsible for managing the work efforts as well as estimating the project cost. Here, we will use the various project prospects, like work breakdown structure of the project, the cost estimates of the project, historical data and records, resource information, and policies. Without the risk management, the budgeting process that is not completed. Risk assessing process, that is considered factors like time shortage, availability of resources, and development team experiences and the technology that is used here. The risk assessment, that can be amount between 25 to 30% of the overall project cost. This is how we are going to plan, or we are going to make the project budget planning, or we are going to make the plan for the purpose of budgeting a project. Okay, getting idea about this project cost estimation and planning the different budgeting of a project. Now let's move to the next point, that is cost forecast. What is actually the cost forecast, that we will see now. Managing the cost of the project requires the careful planning to avoid the shortfalls that can adversely affect the payment schedules and damage the stakeholders reputation. The cost forecasting, it is a useful exercise. Let us see, this is the definition of cost forecast. It is a useful exercise in determining the required expenditure at the various payment stages of the project. The project cost forecast, that are generally developed and issued from the commencement of the project until the project close out. Okay, frequency of the cost forecast, that can vary from monthly, quarterly, or only at certain key milestones of the project. Okay, like completion of the design, then midway of the construction, etc. The answers for the cost forecast that will provide are project's financial performance at completion and time phasing of financial parameters, revenue, cost, profit, cash, etc. The risk and opportunities in execution and their potential impacts to the project financial performances. The challenges in the cost forecast or live projects that are different from those in the cost estimating during the different tendering phases. Okay, compliances, the cost forecast that rolls up to the organizational financial statement, that is income, cash and balance sheets, and therefore specially for publicly listed companies, cost forecasts are audited by third parties as per GAAP IFRS guidelines. The estimates are not generally not subject to such audits. The stakeholder management, in this, the cost forecasts are also a report on project's team performance. The cost estimates, however, do not pinpoint to any teams or individuals' performance. Therefore, the stakeholders' engagement in cost forecast is different than in cost estimates. The rapid changes, the live projects have more moving parts, scope changes and execution changes. The productivity and commodity price trends, such changes are generally lesser in the trending phases. We can see that the cost forecasting process is in two steps, that is confirming the forecast basics and the detailed analysis and forecasting. While in confirming the forecast basis, the basic principle, that is cost forecast, is that foreseen cost should be forecasted, all the risks that should be adequately covered with the contingency, and savings against opportunity shall be realized only after saving the generating actions they are implemented. It is very highly recommended to engage the project's key stakeholders, project managers, the project sponsors, financial manager, etc. At early stages of the cost forecast, the development and align all of these forecast basics. That is there is how we can confirm the basics of the forecast. The scope here is what scope will be including here, that is the cost forecast, that is approved and unapproved changes. And execution here is what execution plan and changes will be included in the cost forecast, that is offshoring versus reshoring, make versus buy decisions, project acceleration versus pacing. All these things comes under the confirming forecast basics, which is a step regarding to the forecasting of a project. The next step, that is detailed analysis and forecasting. The total cost forecast on a live project is the sum of either of the two, that is actual cost and remaining cost, committed cost and to be committed cost. Where actual cost, most of the companies they work on actual based accounting. Okay, which means that cost of the work done to date, that is booked in the books as actual cost, irrespective of this fact, whether an invoice that is received or not received, or payment that is made or not made. For example, a contractor hires 10 cranes, they are costing at total that 1 lakh per month from a third party with 60 days payment term. At the end of the 1 month, the contractor will give 1 lakh in its books as actual cost. The crane suppliers will invoice for month 1 in month 2 and will collect payment for month 1 in month 4 also. This is how the actual thing is being done here. The accrual ensures that cost of the resources they are consumed to date is in the books and revenue is earned correctly. The committed cost, it means that are the cost of goods and services they are ordered. The committed cost will be greater than or equal to the actual cost. For example, a contractor hires 10 cranes costing 1 lakh per month for a third party with 60 days payment terms for a duration of 12 months. The committed cost, that will be actual cost of for 1 month multiplied by 12. Okay, the committed cost, they are successful in forecasting the cost of resources which are committed well in advance of incurring actual cost, like the materials and subcontractors. Here, let us see one example. Projects have produces 100 MT of the steel, and steel needs to be procured 50 MT of the steel. Therefore, total cost forecast for the steel on the project, that will be committed cost of 10 MT steel, to be committed cost of 50 MT steel, means committed plus to be committed. The remaining cost or to be committed cost here, it means that first you have to confirm that actual and committed cost they are correct. and then you have to focus on the computing remaining cost or to be committed cost. The remaining cost that is calculated by assessing the remaining quantity of the resources and then calculating the cost associated with the remaining quantities. Now let us see what are the different risk management here, including the different opportunities. The cost forecast, it is an absolute report on an ever evolving operation. Most forecast basics, most dollars entered or removed from forecast that can be debated for being too optimistic or pessimistic. Risk management accounts for this uncertainty and increases the reliability of the cost forecast. In simple terms, risk and the risk, they are the events or circumstances that can negatively impact the project's objective. Their probability of occurrence that is greater than 0 but less than 50 to 60% range of various across the organization. The live projects, they are already have identified the different risk, but as projects evolve, existing risk occurs or they are mitigated, transferred, avoided, and new risks are identified. The risk can also generate from assumptions in cost forecast or schedule updates from the assumptions which, if proven wrong, that will increase the total cost and the total time of the project. That is how the risk is that can be created here. The contingency here is the dollar amount that is added to the cost forecast to cover for the project risk exposure. The contingency that should be commensurate with the risk profile. There can be probable events or circumstances which, if occur, that can enhance the project performances. These are sometimes called as opportunities or positive risk also. The opportunity that should not be used to offset the risk while calculating the required contingencies. A list of opportunities that should be maintained as a list of actions that the project team needs to take to improve the project performances, and savings should be realized only after such actions are implemented. This is what actually the risk management is done, or the including the different opportunities regarding the risk management in the cost forecast.